What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. And today we are going to be doing semantics of HTML, say HTML semantics. And sorry if I sound stuffy, I'm still a little sick, but we are going to be doing this. So, not much of an introduction, but we are going to get into it. So, let's go ahead. Why should you care about HTML semantics or semantic HTML? Semantics are the meanings of words, phrases in a language. In HTML, which is a language, elements have their own semantic meanings too. In fact, you can think of your HTML document like you would a text document. And much like a text document, you may have headings, images, bold text, and other formatting. The semantic meaning of an element refers to what special information that elements convey. The semantic meaning of a P element, for example, is a paragraph. So, most elements have a semantic meaning. The div element is one of those that few that do not. Why is it important? First and foremost, using proper semantic HTML will ensure the best experience for users with assistive technologies like screen readers, but also semantic HTML can improve your search rankings, that is referred to as search engine optimization or SEO. Very important there. Finally, use correct semantic elements can improve your development experience. Rather than having to sit through a bunch of developments, you can find your navigation bar where you can edit the nav element directly and you know what you're changing. Throughout this section, you'll learn more about these topics on how to use semantic elements and why semantic HTML is so important. What does it mean? What does semantic refer to? Meaning and structure of phrases in a language. What element does not have a semantic meaning? Div. Why should you care? All the above. All right. The most important aspect of creating structural hierarchy is a proper use of heading elements. Heading elements are numbered as H1 through H6. These numbers represent the heading level for that element. Much like a text document, you don't want to use these headings level in correct order. Your H1 element is the top level heading. You'll rarely use more than one of these on a page, and it typically come before all your other content. Your H2 is your subheading. It should always come after H1 and might have some introductory text, unlike the H2 element. You can have multiple H2 elements. You'll often do this to delineate different sections of content. All right, H2, H3, H1. Using the right hierarchy is important for accessibility. Assistive technologies like screen readers rely on the structure of web pages to determine how to parse announcements like web page to the user. Using an H3 element after the H1 may cause the screen reader to believe they have accidentally skipped over due to lack of an H2 element. Proper structure is important for SEO. Search engines use automation to parse the content of your web page and determine when and where it should show up in your results. If your structure is malformed, search engines may not be able to rank you very well in relevant search results. Why is strict hierarchy important? So browsers know what we mean. Accessibility, SEO. Well, these two are correct, so I would assume all three. H2, what would precede after an H3? H4, how should you create a large text on your page? H1. This thing does not talk anywhere about CSS. So I'm assuming it's BH1. I mean, you can do CSS. Let's do that. What? Proceed. Oh. I read the question wrong. All right. So, presentational HTML focuses on appearance and style of the content. In the early days of HTML, developers would use elements like the center big font. But in modern web development, you shouldn't use those types of elements because of the limitations and negative impact. But yeah, many presentations HTML elements are deprecated, which means they're outdated and no longer recommended. So there are better ways to get the same results. However, it is helpful to know that they exist. We'll take a look at some examples. So the foot element is a deprecated element used to set font size and color of the text. Here's an example of the font element. You know, I've always wondered that. Like, when something becomes deprecated, this is me just completely in awe now, or trying to figure it out. If something becomes completely deprecated in like a JavaScript, do I have to rewrite that entire code? That's a genuine question. I don't know, and that was one of the reasons why I didn't know how to look at existing code bases, and I saw a deprecating file and I didn't know what to do with it, or what it really meant, or where do I find the outdated code. But this example sets the color of the text to blue and the size of the value of 5. The range of the size and attribute is from 1 to 7. 1 being with the smallest and 7 being the largest. The default value is 3. You don't set the value explicitly. This value, or while this element continues to work, you should not use it because this font and color should always be set in the CSS, not in HTML. I mean, that makes sense. The center element is another deprecated element that is used to center the content horizontally within its container. But that is the deprecating one as well. And then big, deprecating element used to make text bigger. Okay. Makes sense. Remember that font size should always be set with CSS, so you know not to use this element in modern HTML. This is where these were examples of presentational HTML elements, but all of them are deprecated and no longer recommended. Which should you do instead? Semantic HTML is now recommended practice. It describes the content of the element, which makes it so much easier to read, understand, and maintain. Search engines can easily understand your website and use semantic HTML. It's also helpful for accessibility purposes because screen readers need semantic information to describe what's on the web page. Examples of semantics below. Oh, font, center, big. Okay. All right. So, which of the following best describes the difference between presentational and semantic? Presentational focuses. No, it's the other way around. Which of the following is an example of presentational? This one. Which of the following is an example of semantic HTML? Nav, big. Oh wait, no. Perfect. Cool. Now, as much as I'd love to get through these two, we'll probably get through building a major list of web browsers today. Alright, so we're going to be going ahead and jumping into understanding nuanced semantic elements. When should you emphasize semantic elements over idiomatic text elements? These elements are very closely related to the concept and presentational and semantic HTML. The idiomatic text element I was originally used for presentation purposes to display the text in italics, but now it is frequently used to highlight alternative voice or that is way different. I remember that. I do remember that's what it was used for back in the day. That's okay. That's interesting. The lang attributes. Is there a lang attribute? Oh, there we go. The lang attribute inside the I tag used to specify language and context. In this case, the language would be French. The I element does not indicate that it is important to not or not. It only shows how some. It only shows that it's somehow different from the surrounding text. If you do need to emphasize the importance of the text, you can use a similar semantic element called the emphasis element M. Okay, I remember that one. This is usually recommended if you need to provide more context. You should use this element for parts of the text that require special emphasis compared to surrounding text. It's usually limited to only a few words because it can alter the meaning of a sentence. Never give up on your dreams. Okay. HTML element is used to differentiate text from surrounding context without conveying important When should you use CSS instead of element? When the text has a special purpose for meaning. When the text, I would assume, or meaning in the paragraph. I think that. What is this? Let's do that. What is the primary difference between I and M? There's no difference. Important text. Idiomatic one. No. When the text needs to be emphasized. Your text in italics says for presentational purposes only. For more importance. What the? Alright. I don't understand that sentence. Maybe I'm just reading it wrong. Bring attention elements. B is commonly used to highlight keywords and summaries. Or product names and reviews. Usually browsers display this text in bold. Here's an example using the boldface element to highlight product names in this review. Okay. So if you need to emphasize the importance of text, you should use the strong element instead of the B element. A strong is a semantic HTML element that emphasizes text in a crucial or urgent tone, This example where the strong element is used to label a very important warning about the potential allergic reactions that customers may have to the product. They both look very similar to me, I'm not gonna lie. Which HTML element, without conveying urgent that is strong? What is the primary difference between the bold for visual? Alright. I think I'm just going to do this one, and I am just not feeling well. Description lists are perfect for presenting terms and definitions in an organized way and easy to read format, like a glossary or a real dictionary, where you can find words with their corresponding definitions. Just an example of a description list in HTML with two terms and their corresponding details. Enable the interactive editor and try uncommenting the code to see the new detail show up in list of terms in the window. This one? Oh. Okay. You'll need to in this case, acronyms HTML and CSS are the details in their expansions. This detail could be the definitions or other information related to the term. You'll need three elements to define a description list. First, the description list element, which is the container for the entire list. You can wrap it around the other elements of the description in the example. Then, one description term element, DT, for each term. In this case, we'll use terms CSS, HTML, and CSS. So it has two of these elements. Finally, each term you will find a description detail element, DD. This description or detail association with that term in this example are hypertext markup language, or cascading style sheets. In the browser, you will see each term followed by corresponding description. By default, these descriptions are slightly more indented towards the right to distinguish themselves visually. This description lists are not limited to only to terms and definitions. They are much more versatile than that. Here are a few recipes for ingredients. Enable the interactive reader. All right. Is this DL description term and description detail? Description term, description detail, description term. Oh, okay. Is used for the entire description list. Description list. Description term and description detail. All right, let's go get you some of that. All right, so I think with that, let's go ahead and build this. Shouldn't take that long. Start coding. All right, so they've pretty much set it up for us. It looks like we're just gonna build a list of major head components using the HTML, this website. The boilerplate's already been provided to us. You can see it there at the top there. In this workshop, you're going to build a list of major web browsers. The HTML has been provided for you. Start by heading to your page. It reads one list of major browsers. H1. No, it's not passing. Major. Sorry. Web browsers. No. Did I spell it wrong? We are inside list of major web browsers. Oh, I did spell it wrong. I spelled it wrong again. Alright. Okay. And from here, we're going to rebuild a D1 or DL. This one had an opening and a closing tag. Okay. Oh my god, I gotta type right now. Alright. Cool. Alright. And here we're gonna create a DT and DL. DT is gonna say Google Chrome. Why can't I find this? Google Chrome. And then DD. Okay, we can take that. D1 or DD. Cool. All right. Now it's time to add your secondary browser. Do that. We'll just copy and paste it. Where is this thing at? Firefox. Copy. Paste. Cool. And then oops. Do that. Do that. Let's go ahead and indent that. Safari. Yeah. All right. It should be good. And lastly, Brave. Now, if you guys didn't know, Brave, yeah. Somehow that opened up. So to say, if you guys didn't know, Brave has like a built-in VPN. So does DuckDuckGo. I was about to say VPN. I was typing to type it. We get it? Alright, we got it. And then lastly, Arc. Arc. All right, should be easy peasy lemon squeezy. Oh, that was it. We're just building a list. Nothing out of the ordinary. So I think, for that, we went through, the first 3 lessons for building a semantic HTML. I think we're going to leave it off at that. And then, we'll go ahead and finish this rest up. I know I wanted to get done with this, but I am not feeling the greatest. You guys see me trying to type and barely hold it together. But yeah, guys, you guys like this kind of stuff, feel free to like, subscribe, whatever. Have any tips? Feel free to leave them in the comments below. Peace.